but I'm just going to try to, as I've done previously, is just try to keep the meeting moving and work from there. Well, do want to confirm there's a quorum present. We have asked today the Longview member that we has in the process has retired, so it's not going to be here. And Vance is out of town, and John Lane, who could be here as well. So if we could stand, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
That's why I have to have the cheat down there. So I don't know how the Texas flag goes.
Yeah, but when they added that extra phrase, it throws me out because I learned it so short. You know.
Well, for whatever reason, I'd always thought that they started the same, so I was sitting there going, okay, how does it take flag? Then I'll start off clear. Item number 3, public forum. I don't see anybody new here. Do we have anybody that has signed up for public forum? I can go into the action items. We received a letter of resignation from Mrs. Stacy Gibbs, and we don't have that in your booklet right there, but we did need to go ahead and have a formal acceptance of the resignation letter so that we can begin to look for somebody new. Any questions on the Stacy Gibbs letter of resignation?
Ms. Gibbs and her family are moving, and she just wanted to thank the board for the opportunity in the school, and said that her children learned a lot and great experience, and so she was planning on joining us today, and we were going to recognize her, but I got an email about an hour ago, and she was unable to join us.
So do we need to, can I get a
motion? Make a motion that we accept her letter of resignation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So do we just do an election again?
If I am not mistaken, the way it was done before, and Joanne can correct me, is that they accepted from, and I think we've done it with every site, but they accepted recommendations from the parents for someone. Then they did an online voting where the winner was able to come in. So that would be the next step, is to see if they're, you can recommend yourself too, with recommendations, and then try to have some kind of online voting procedure, and move this way there. Okay. Number 5, we only have one item on the consent agenda, which is the previous minutes. Everybody looked over the previous minutes, if they are correct as written.
Long time ago. It looks great.
If they are correct, I have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Now, probably in the future, a lot of these things, like the policies and such, that are not going to be controversial, I think will probably go on the consent agenda. That's not the way it's written here. So we are going to have a motion and a second as we go through all those areas. I'm going to make one other comment here, because it just kind of came to mind, and I chase rabbits when things enter my mind to talk about it. I do notice down here, it says minutes submitted by Lisa Jett, and Lisa Jett has accepted another position here at UT Tyler. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but she told me.
She's now the ASO for the Vice President of Student Services, so that was a move up.
Okay, so we're going to miss Lisa, but we have Joella, who is, I guess, our new Lisa. And so, Joella, welcome. We appreciate you, and if there's anything we can do for you or anything, just let us know, and we'll be glad to try to help out. All right, move number 6, legal evaluation policy.
So basically, the leadership team began to look at the evaluation that was done on employees last year, specifically teachers. Last year, all employees were evaluated under the University of Texas at Tyler Performance Administrative and Professional Personnel evaluation, basically looking at that system looks at categories where teachers and their supervisors sit down and discuss how they developed as a leader that year, how they made decisions, their planning process, their staff management, human relationships, the communication, very broad topics. Looking as we move forward, we would like to move forward with a PDOS evaluation, professional development appraisal system, where it looks at basically categories that we could evaluate teachers in a more effective way. PDOS is used by most school districts. When evaluating teachers, it looks at 8 domains. Domains such as learner-centered instruction. So when a supervisor goes into the classroom, they will evaluate that individual under all 8 domains. And so moving forward, that's what we would like to recommend, is that we move forward with the PDOS system. I do want to note that will not be our only system that we will use. We also have a promotion plan that we have put in place. Is a system that we will evaluate teachers under as well. But we really felt like that we needed to look at a system that would be able to provide us a little more specific feedback for teachers rather than just very broad topics. And so what I have presented to you is the local and legal policies for PDOS.
I would like for, first of all, can I make comments now?
Yes, go ahead.
Just occurred to me, I didn't know how I was ordered.
You are out of order.
I know, I frequently am. I'm concerned with us modeling something over PDOS that is going away in the state. I would strongly recommend that we use Chapter 149, which is the new teacher state standards that are 5 domains, and we use all 5 of those domains. And that we, first of all, use a very comparable system to the rest of the state, so that if and when our teachers do move from areas or something, that their evaluations here will still benefit them in their career, and they will not be at a disadvantage by teaching at the Innovation Academy. For instance, if they happen to move to a different area. I think that's really important. I'm concerned that we would use the PDOS when that is being phased out of the state.
We did look into that. There are 72 schools, that's my understanding right now, that are looking at piloting the new system.
Okay, it was piloted last year.
Okay, and so can a district adopt the new system now? Because if they can, I misunderstood that.
No, I still think they're looking
Well, they just,
at
as of today, Michael Williams asked for an extension on the waiver of the SEA, which was in part stating that creating a new evaluation document for teachers and principals. And so they are still working on it at this point. I've read the handful of schools that are doing it, but I don't think as far as a formal document that the state has approved as kind of the default for districts, I don't think that's out there at this time.
Because we did look into that, because one thing that this system allows us to do is to do everything electronically. Teachers will be able to do our walkthroughs, our evaluations, all through the system that we currently have, which is DMAC.
Well, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we are reflecting Chapter 149, which is new and effective now, that we're not using.
I think the goal is that
standards.
whenever the state adopts whatever the new thing is,
Yes.
we would also adopt it.
Okay. Well, that is my concern.
But we
Again, if a
could
teacher
amend
moves,
this to say
we don't
that
wanna-
until the state has a final decision on.
I agree. We
Evaluation.
all felt that way, that we wanted to
Okay.
look at the new system, but when we went to explore it, we didn't see that there was really anything that we could utilize to get started
Okay.
this year. We hesitated. One time we talked about not even looking at a new system and waiting until the system was ready, not looking at PDOS. But we were afraid of putting that off another year, of not having, because right now our teachers do not have the documentation,
Right.
even if, like you were talking about, them being able to go look at another position. If someone asks them for their evaluation, they're basically giving them a one-sheet document
Right.
that doesn't really show a lot about their teaching.
Right.
So we could add the language perhaps that says something like, we're adopting this, but when the state comes out with new guidelines, we'll re-examine.
Well, I would imagine that as soon as the state brings out the new guidelines, PDOS is for the most part going away. So it would be unusual for a school to continue with something like PDOS.
And the document I pulled up yesterday, because I was reading about the new system, told me that basically the system is voluntarily now, but it will be where, it's not going to be PDOS will eventually go away.
Well, it'll be interesting too, to see if our waiver is even accepted, because these states are having their waivers rejected by the Department of Education.
I was wondering that too.
So I bet we don't get it.
That's never stopped Michael Williams, though.
Well, yeah.
He's ignored.
Any other questions or comments about the PDOS?
Well, should we just, when we do the motion, should it be that this is the interim until we have a final, or does it matter if we just revisit it?
I think we'd make a comment in the motion that accepting PDOS while revisiting this matter when the new evaluation system comes out. Joanne, what is the difference between the legal evaluation policy and the local evaluation policy?
Basically, the local has some specific details in it. Legal is just the law, and then the district has discretion to what to adopt when it comes to local. One thing that we've noted in our local is the appraisal calendar. Whereas some districts can just look at a window for a time for a teacher to be evaluated. Some districts are specific to say that the teacher has to be made aware of when they're going to be evaluated. We would like to just look at it, and you've got one in your board packet, adopting the PDOS calendar, which is aligned with the legal. The legal says there's certain things that when evaluating a teacher that you have to stay within these guidelines. For example, you cannot do a formal evaluation on a teacher the day before a holiday. You can go in and evaluate them, you can walk through their classroom, but it cannot be a part of their PDOS. And so this calendar that you have in your board packet reflects the local states that we will develop a calendar.
It's like the airlines, there's blackout days.
Also, the local looks at who can actually appraise and says that the board has to approve those appraisers, and you've got a copy of those names. That it's not on the agenda for you to approve those names. We still have time. So we will revisit that, but you do have the names currently of the individuals in our district that are PDOS certified. Now, please note that Mike Burns and Angela Dean are not on the list. They both are planning on going through the certification early September. So they will be certified hopefully prior to the end of the year, or hopefully very early on, so they can complete their evaluations on their teachers. You can read through some of the other local things state that, in the event that a teacher doesn't agree with a supervisor's evaluation, then there is a second appraiser that comes in. That is not the same appraiser that did it the first time. So if Ms. Rutledge appraised a teacher and the teacher wasn't happy with the appraisal, then a second appraiser would come in, and it would come from either the superintendent or someone on a designee on that list. Very standard things. We reviewed several different, on all of our local and legal policies. We basically look at several school districts and kind of see and compare.
And to kind of give a little background real quick is that when you see something called a legal policy, it is based on state law, and there's really not any discretion at our level to do anything with it. Local policies may have something inside of it that has levels of discretion for the board, but both of them have to be adopted by the board to make it clear. You have a question, Mr. Flynn?
I was actually a classroom teacher when this first started. Right. So, we jumped through all the fun things of, will they tell you in advance? And then they had blah, 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 blah. So are we telling teachers in advance? Because basically everybody had a dog and pony class, lesson plan hiding in their desk. And when the teacher walked in, when the principal walked in, you pulled out your dog and pony show and
Great point. That's what we've adopted not to do. We've adopted to say, and this will be provided to teachers the very first day of instruction, to say, these dates here indicated are dates that we can appraise at any time. Now, I think it's 18 days prior to the first day of instruction that you cannot appraise a teacher. That gives them time. That's in the legal. That gives them the time to adjust, get to know their students, get to know their content. But after that, then basically that teacher has this calendar here that they can go off of.
Well, I always thought, and I mean, even as a teacher, when I was teaching, I loved having the principal come in a lot, rather than just once a year. They're a little one formal, and I think they started out with an informal and a formal, and I mean, I forget how the different hoops we jumped through when they first started this, but I mean, my 2 cents just as a parent would be, I love to have the teachers or the principals go through the classrooms weekly. Even if it's just for 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, you do it 5 minutes once a week. After 2 months, you kind of know what's going on in that classroom. If every time you walk in, they're on task, or every time they walk in, it's.
I want to note that we will not only have our directors going into the classroom, we have CIAs, teachers that are campus instructional assessment coaches.
Okay.
And so they will actually be using the classroom as well. They teach as well, but there's a period that we designated for them to have off during the school day so they can go in and observe teachers and give them that coaching feedback. Then we also have a reading specialist and a math specialist that will be going into the classroom as well as Jacqueline and myself. So
I just think the feedback
I think you're going to see
teacher.
Teachers are definitely going to see that there's going to be a lot of traffic in and out of their classroom to give them the feedback at various levels. I'm a coach. I'm coaching you. I'm trying to help you to the level of, okay, this is where we're at. This is what your data shows. How can I help you from a director's perspective?
Great.
When we look at the list of appraisers, will we have an understanding of what these people do in the Innovation Academy and why they were selected? Are we just looking through anybody associated and say, oh, okay, you already have PDOS training, so you're on the list? I'm curious about some of the list.
Okay, the list here are only people that are on the leadership team of the at the Innovation Academy. So there's we do have some teachers, for example, that have their administration certification and could be PDOS certified, but be in the classroom. They would never act as an appraiser. So these individuals are on the leadership team, but yeah, we can definitely give you the titles and go through that and explore. We're not voting on this today.
Right.
I'm basically just giving you the names that we've currently identified. Most of these individuals, and we can you as a board can identify the ones that would be second appraisers. They would not be primary appraisers. Our hope is that the directors are going to be the primary appraisers on the campus, Ms. Rutledge, Ms. Ledeen, and Mr. Burns. And then in the event that there needed to be a second appraiser step in, we would pull from the list. But I can definitely add that for the next meeting, their titles.
Just to throw it out there, the advantages, of having, since we're fairly small, of having one kind of appraisal for everybody, then it's between campuses, we have a little bit of, if you have 3 different judges, 3 different appraisers, you're going to get, one's looking for one thing, one's looking for something else, even though we have this system that we're trying to make it standardized, it really isn't from campus to campus to campus. It would be a little bit of advantage about maybe doing one with the local and one with someone who does
Second appraiser.
Does everybody get 2, or they only get 1 unless they have a problem with that one, then they get a second?
The norm is that as a building director, they would be as their direct supervisor. That would be the person that would do their primary appraisal.
Okay.
Be their primary appraiser.
And primary meaning they're only going to have 1.
They would have the one
unless
appraiser.
there's a discrepancy. Unless
There's like that. I think what you're asking is they get more than 1 visit, but they get 1 official
right
thing.
That's what I was gonna say. DMAC, the system, we can go in with our cell phone. There's a mobile section. We can go in with a laptop and sit down. The thought is that we're visible enough in the classroom that we may sit through a whole period. They won't know whether we're doing a full 45-minute evaluation or not. That addresses the pulling out the lesson for that. I mean, we should be in there enough. There should be multiple walkthroughs, maybe 20, 30, 40 for a year, and then one 45-minute evaluation. And they're a little different. One looks at more simplistic things and one is more detailed. But there's also conferences with the teachers in between. That's part of the PDOS system that addresses anything that's brought up in the law.
Right. And I'm just going off of experience from 25
But we
years
could
ago,
definitely,
where the principal never came into your classroom, and then all of a sudden, everybody knew what was going on. The kids all knew it, everybody knew it. And I think we had the assistant principal do one and the principal do one, and you got the average of the two, or I forget, but it was something along those lines.
As a science teacher, you didn't do labs because they didn't tell me that.
but we could definitely look at having one or two people just be our second appraisers, for sure.
You know,
Maybe the superintendent and a designee.
I think just feedback is a good thing as a teacher, you know, to help them.
I've always felt that,
Strengthens.
I always felt, Mr. Flynn, even being in the classroom as an administrator is worthwhile in its own right, simply because it sets a tone that what that teacher does matters. And so, you work with it and obviously try to develop the teacher as you go along there. But just walking through makes a big difference, just because it's important. So it matters what's going on. So, any other questions on 6, 7, or 8, which is the evaluation policies and the PDOS calendar?
And I make a motion to approve with the caveat that we will reevaluate when the state issues its new plan.
All right, so we have a motion for legal evaluation. We have to go through each one of these individual. Legal evaluation by Dr. Odell with the contingent upon changes taking place once the state changes its teacher evaluation policy. Do I have a second? A second from Dr. Swain. All in favor? Any opposed? We got number 7, local evaluation policy. Motion.
I make the motion to accept with the caveat that based on the changes we'll have to make in the legal one, we'll have to align the local one to the new legal one when the time comes. I don't know if
We hear that motion. Hopefully simplified when we see the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second from Mr. Flynn. All in favor? Any opposed? And then third, the PDOS calendar, which Dr. Simmons went through moments ago, talking basically the areas in which an individual can go in and have their formal PDOS evaluation take place. Any questions on the PDOS calendar? Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve the calendar with the consideration that if the state changes the calendar, we will adopt the new calendar.
Second.
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Humphrey. Second, Mr. Humphrey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Moving to number 9, waiver for accelerated intervention after third administration.
As we had talked before, board, the 5th and 8th graders are SSI students. Those are the students that have to take the STAR test. They get a chance to take it up to 3 times. The state looks at and says that each time the student doesn't pass and they're not successful on the test, then there's an intervention that is provided for that student. So we basically, at the very end of the school year, those students that did not pass, those 5th grade students, SSIs for 5th and 8th, we don't have 8th, so I'm only going to speak to 5th. Those 5th grade students receive intervention in a small group setting, a 1-to-10 ratio. Once that intervention takes place, then the student then takes the third administration. So the third administration has been taken, and the state said we have those scores back, and the state says the intervention has to take place immediately, or the school district has to file for a waiver. And we're asking that we file for a waiver to give those students an opportunity to have a short break before the first start of the school year. So basically, the students have been, that they didn't really get an opportunity to be away from school. They've been in intervention since the 2nd administration. They've taken the 3rd administration. We have those results. There is a small group of students that did not pass. And so most districts apply for a waiver to say that we have to provide them intervention, but we'd like to apply for a waiver to provide them intervention starting the first day of school, not during this short time period. And so, you know, the state just basically says that in order to do so, you just have to apply for a waiver that has to be approved by the board.
How many students are we talking about?
Directors, please help me. I have a roundabout figure. You're about 12, 18?
My little one, about 17.
17 students. You're 3, 4, 2. So 4. So 4 in Longview, 2 in Palestine, and 17 in Tyler. Those are students that either they didn't meet the standard in math.
Fifth graders.
Math,
Just fifth graders.
just fifth graders. Math or reading or both.
So we're looking for a motion to
Submit a waiver.
submit a waiver for,
So they don't have to immediately come back
right.
to school.
But they,
We've
They
met
will
with the
have to
parents
take them.
to kind of tell you the process.
that's okay.
An SSI student is that we once a student passes or fails, if they pass, you meet with the parent, you inform them if this child has passed. If they have not passed, if they did not pass the third administration, you basically, a GPC committee, because the state says that child is to be retained. But a GPC committee, a grade placement committee, sits down with the parent, the student, teacher, administrator, and discusses and develops a plan to provide intervention for that student. We have already taken care of all that on each campus. The directors have sat down with the students and families to discuss the intervention that's going to be taking place. Most of those students will be assigned to extended day, if not all of them, starting the very first week of school. Extended day is that our normal school days from 8 to 12. Those students will have a short lunch from 12 to 12:45. Then they will receive a small group intervention 1 to 2 days a week in that subject area that they were not successful in. From 12:45 to 2:45, guys?
In many cases, these kids have made huge
Right.
advancements. They just have such a long way to go. Right.
So ultimately what we're doing is, ultimately what the board is doing is accepting a waiver to let this group of students have
Vacation.
the rest of the summer vacation, have the rest of summer off.
Exactly.
And the state approves that waiver if we can show them that we've done the things that we've already done, as I was detailing to you.
Any other questions?
He said, what's SSI?
Student Success Initiative.
Just for making a motion. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept or propose the waiver for the SSI for,
Yeah. So
we apply for it. So,
okay, so we have a motion to apply for the waiver.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Flynn, second by Dr. Odell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Looking at number 10, waiver to utilize DMAC to access student state assessment data.
Basically, all the state data is inputted into Pearson. That's the system that the state uses. The state says that if you're going to use anything that interfaces with Pearson, you have to apply for a waiver. We have to know what program that you're going to use to interface with our program to gather student data. So we want to apply for a waiver so that we can utilize DMAC. DMAC is used across the state. It's the system that the service center supports. This is a system where we can go in and input student data as far as if we have a test and we scan that test in, it will basically scan our results and analyze them for us. But again, the state says we're not telling you what system to use, but if you use a system that interfaces with our system, then we have to approve it. And so we're asking that the board approve for us to apply for the waiver to use the DMAC system.
Support that motion, or make a motion?
Any questions? We have a motion from Dr. Swain to apply for a waiver to utilize DMAC to access student assessment data. Second, Mr. Humphrey, all in favor?
I think it's mainly a cybersecurity thing.
Yeah. It's just a process. DMAC is, everybody uses it, so it's Look at number 11 and 12. Those will be second motions and seconds, but we'll look at those together. Wellness, the legal policy, and local policy.
Basically, board, you know that I try to keep you up to date on our application to apply to serve breakfast next year. I do want to note that Ms. Becky Rutledge has assisted us with this process, along with Ms. Lisa Jett, has done an outstanding job. They got the application in a very short period of time. Good news, as noted in your board bulletin, that we were approved. Part of the process when applying for the application, we had to create a wellness, legal, and local policy. And so, again, our application has been approved. We are moving forward with serving breakfast on all 3 campuses next year. And so, again, the board has to look at the legal and local policies. And so this is the wellness, legal, and local policy, part of the application that's already been approved.
So when you look at wellness policy, nutritious guidelines kind of outline what can and can't be served and what times and that kind of stuff.
Correct, and we're just doing breakfast. And we looked at several different school districts and pretty much found that in comparing and creating ours, pretty much found them all to be very, very similar. But we are excited to serve breakfast next year to our students.
And all the campuses or just us?
All 3 campuses.
Do we have any questions on the wellness policies? Or that's probably not the right term, the wellness and health services policies. There are no questions, can I have a motion?
Together or separate?
We have to do them separate. So we're doing the legal policy first. I have a motion for legal policy.
I make a motion that we approve the legal policy for the student welfare, wellness, and health services.
We have a motion, Mr. Flynn, to approve the legal policy for the wellness and health services. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Dr. Swain, all in favor? Any opposed? We have the local policy for the wellness and health services. Do I have a motion to accept that? Motion from Mr. Humphrey. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Flynn, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Looking at the superintendent's report.
All right, the first note here is the budget update. As Dr. Hickey mentioned, or I apologize, he may not have mentioned, in reporting that Megan Reeves is no longer with us. Her last day was today. We're very sad to say and wish her well and want to thank her for everything that she's done for our school district. During this time, Mark Parkerson is going to be assisting us, and he's going to review the budget update.
Okay. For the 2 family members that are not part of the university, just to kind of educate you just a little bit, the university started to change over to a new software basically in February. We had a hard stop in April, and so all of the data that we need to give you the budgets like we have in the past are still kind of out in limbo land because we're having some challenges with the university software.
This is not unique to the Charter.
Yes,
No one has to run.
in fact, this is unique to the whole UT system at this point, which, so we have to report through one software, Skyward, through TEA, but we use all the information out of the PeopleSoft or the software that the university provides to populate Skyward. At this point, and I can pass this out if you want to, but I don't know if it's going to mean a whole lot to you. We were able to tease through a variety of queries in PeopleSoft to find out exactly what our balance is. But we can't tell you what it was spent on. It was just a batch of all the personnel, all the M&O, all the supplies and all that. It's just one number. At this point, we have positive revenue of $171,000. We expect another payment of $250,000. Of that balance of $421,000, we know that we have $300,000 in payroll costs for July and August to come out of there. We have some other associated costs with the startup for next year for software and all that. In my best professional opinion, compared to what we get from PeopleSoft, I expect us to have about a $25,000 positive balance at the end of this year. Part of understand that the first of the year, we adopted a $3.9 million budget, almost $4 million budget. We had some enrollment issues. We had some attendance issues. We anticipate that the total that we'll get from the state is $3.7 million. And we've worked very hard on moving people off of payroll, off of the Innovation Academy into other areas with the Ingenuity Center to make sure that we have a balance. As we go into next year, we are committed to be much more conservative in our estimates and the way that we go about our business. If you have a question, I'll be glad to try to answer about it. I'm just trying to get it as general as I can because that's all the information that I can give you is the general information.
I know the answer to this, but when will we have final PeopleSoft numbers? Because we're running up on the end of the year.
It's probably going to be in September before we can actually tell what's happened through August 31st.
And how do we assure that we have a positive balance?
Right now, we know what our balance is. We know what we've got coming in. We have calculated our expenditures, and we keep that running total with everything that comes in at this point, and we've committed not to go past the point of the $25,000 positive balance.
The Ingenuity Center has a conservative reserve, because they won't tell me how much money I have, because they're afraid I'll spend it, of around $300,000 to $500,000. So that money is there to charge any expenses to in August that would make us have a negative balance. Dr. Simmons is going to talk about why that's important.
And Mark, I'm saying this mainly for the overall thing is that it is, as you stated, it is very important that we be pretty conservative with the budget figures. And in the past, we have not been nearly as conservative as should have been. The other question I guess I have for you is that the budget was adopted per function. And do we have any functions within that that are going to be?
We don't anticipate. Whenever we do report to TEA, we're reporting about how we entered everything into function. Now, as far as what we're concerned about right now is that we have a total overall positive balance.
Right.
The functions will be expended the way that we adopted.
So let me, with the way we okay. Do we need to have a board meeting next month that is later in the month, not only so that we can make sure we can adopt the budget, but that if there's any budget amendments that need to be made from the last year, that we get that taken care of? Or do we want to have the regular one and then do a special one at the end so we can clean up whatever we need to clean up?
Because we've met with Colonel Acosta and have indicated that we need our numbers sooner than later.
VP of Business Affairs
at
the university.
PeopleSoft implementation. And so we could potentially, if we're prioritized on the list, which I hope we are, that we could have our numbers and then it won't be an issue. If not, we could call a special. So we don't know.
Well, I guess what I would say is that board members might want to just be aware that we may need to have a meeting toward the end of August to clean up any matters with the budget and stuff for the past year, because, and that's very routine in most school districts, is that when you get closest you can to numbers, there are always some areas within the functions that even look like they may be close, but you don't want to have one go under, so you come and do a budget amendment to make sure that it's going to be in the black.
And Dr. Gee, the later that we can adopt a budget, the better budget we're going to have, simply because charter school enrollment is a lot more dicey than regular public. And the closer that we get to the end of the month, the better the numbers we're going to have. I know that we have a pre-enrollment day the first week of August, and that's going to give us a better idea of our numbers. But again, the numbers that we're going to use for our next year's budget are extremely conservative as far as enrollment and attendance. And if we're going to be surprised, it's going to be in a positive way.
Well, but budgets are always a best guess. You're always trying your best guess on how many kids you're going to have dark in the doorway, best guess of what's going to cost you to educate them. But you definitely want to understate the numbers of kids because you get positive surprises down the road, and overstate the expenditures because you want those positive surprises. We haven't always done it, but I know Mark has That's his philosophy, and I think that works
My
out.
philosophy is not.
So,
I'm good at spending money, but I like to be in the black.
Couple of questions. Are we square with the state from our under attendance
Yes.
last year?
Yes.
Okay. There was 2 or 3 possible sources of income coming in that we've been talking about for 6 or 7 months. One of them was a rapidly growing school.
We got that. Wasn't as big as we thought. It was about $70,000 that was put into the budget this year.
Okay, so that's already factored in.
I think that was actually accepted last week.
Not bad. We didn't realize we got it until we went back and did research, said, where is it? And it wasn't a formal notification at all. It was just,
They just,
I don't remember last week.
I don't
last time,
either.
but-
all right, well, then maybe we need to accept it, but they just put it in our normal reimbursement.
Look at it, if we haven't accepted it, yeah, just add it to August and just.
I thought there was another thing out there too. Another possible,
Special ed.
might have been a materials allotment, time instructional allotment. We did accept that. I know that we didn't want to, but it was only $40,000-$50,000.
That comes up from the state, goes out of the normal budget lines, right? But it's still it's just state funding.
But
We had a couple of applications in, but because of our accountability status last year, we weren't eligible for the additional money.
okay. So the budget that, when you're saying we think will be $25,000 in the black, it already includes
Yes.
those 2 things that we were hoping were coming down the pipe.
And understand, we could have a little more. in the
I
back, but there's a
understand. I was
huge
just
amount
trying
of
to,
instructional things that we're trying to do to get ready for next year, so we're just trying to, stay with a positive balance, but take care of everything that's coming up.
And one of the things that, Joanne's gonna talk more about this in a minute, is, being, the way that the state assessment on your financial condition is, if you have a negative balance, you fail.
Mhm.
Be 1 penny off, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well you did everything else. So, we have, like I said, we have this reserve in the Ingenuity Center that will assure whatever we have to do, that we can't move money, but we move expenses. We will move every expense that we can justify off of which is very, it's discretionary. So we will have a positive balance.
So that moves right into the School First report. You have a copy of that. Basically, a CPA comes in, a firm comes in and looks at the data that has been submitted to TEA, and they create a report, and basically the district either passes or fails. And based off of the data for 2012, 2013, our district failed the charter school First financial rating system report.
Well, I'm gonna make a quick, I know you're gonna jump down, I'm gonna make a quick comment, I have a couple of gripes, so I'm gonna gripe and then I'm gonna be quiet.
Okay.
I don't know and I don't know where we had any discretion. The auditors we had last time, we sat up here and asked them when it was at a negative balance, and she kept him on about it, because I made the statement is that a negative balance is gonna cause us to fail the first. And she kept saying, well, maybe not, and that was frustrating. Okay, if it's a bad news to tell, let's deal with it and move on with it. And she kept him on. The other thing is apparently we got shot down because of a
Interest bearing.
well, not that, but then again, the wording that they said that our books were, I think her word was unmodified. She had an unmodified opinion.
Unmodified is what it needed to be.
No, unqualified was what it needed to be, and she had unmodified. And I asked her that question there too, and she said the new term they use is unmodified instead of unqualified, and yet we got shot down on this thing because of that terminology. And so
somebody tried to check that on their phone at that meeting, and I remember that.
And so I guess the only comment I want to make is we saw this coming, or we should have, because the negative balance is going to end up with this. But the one person that didn't see it coming was our auditor, which is concerning. So I don't know where we got the auditor from. I'm just making a comment.
And keep in mind, in essence, we chose to have a negative balance last year. We made a purchase in August that could have waited till September, or the Ingenuity Center could have purchased those computers, and we would not have had a negative balance. So if the negative balance goes away, we pass, there's one area we are not going to be able to pass. It cost us, what's the total on the points?
You have to have 50 points to pass. If we have a positive balance, the most that we'll be able to get, I believe, is 60 points. We had 3 areas that we did not get enough points. The positive balance, the qualified opinion that was caused by the negative balance, and the fact that we do not have an interest-bearing account. And I've checked with Audit System, I've checked with Stephen F. Austin, all the other universities that have charter schools. None of, there's a
We can't open a bank
state,
account.
nobody can do a interest-bearing account in a university. So we're always going to lose those 5 points, but if that's the only 5 points we lose, we will still pass our audit each year.
But the bottom line is there are different groups that don't fit the algorithms that the state has and whatever it is. And they really don't try to create any kind of exceptions for things, and that kind of stuff happens. But what we can take care of, we need to take care of. So.
All right, so clearly we need a new auditor.
That's sure something you could say.
That is something we can definitely got.
So, but I think I think UT Tyler, who picked the auditor for us last year?
Well,
Wasn't that?
We had to pick from a list.
Cheryl? Yeah,
Right. I think it was a recommendation.
It was a recommendation from somebody. We
Right,
can definitely read.
but we can
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
make a better decision.
Yeah, they won't let us do our own audit. They won't even let our internal auditors do the audit.
Right,
So-
but we can make a better decision,
Absolutely.
a more informed, and maybe someone who audits other charter schools.
Well, but I think even on top of that, it might even help. And this is where we're kind of unique. Someone has to be able to also work with the university here too, because there has to be a bridge between what we do and the university does, and some of the stuff can get a little complicated. So I'm not arguing that point. I mean, I know it'll be new to probably whatever auditor comes through. But I think that some of the things we dealt with here were pretty routine and basic type issues that our auditor either didn't want to give us the bad news or didn't know. And either way, to me, is a deal breaker.
We
What
might,
about the
Is it a
SFA?
problem
We might
with the
consider-
one individual that was sent?
It
Or is
could
a
be that
problem with
too.
the auditing firm? I mean, she was not prepared. It was
I
a
agree.
little embarrassing.
Right.
Okay, but maybe it's just her and not really the auditing firm. And we just need to.
Because that firm is
From the
used.
same firm.
What about
I don't know how big a firm
SFAs?
they are.
we,
The
we,
firm
we
is
might
recommended
consider
by
the
TA.
SFA auditor. I know that whenever I had my conversation with them, that they have recognized audit reports, the last 2 or 3 years. So we may, and that's somebody that's familiar with both the university and charter.
Oh, that's good.
Well, at the university level, I used Karen Jacks out of Longview. And listen, sometimes she was as mean as a rattlesnake, but I'm gonna tell you what, she, she let you know and she made sure your books were clean. So, sorry, Karen, if you're listening. Or if anybody knows Karen.
Any other questions about the audit?
But the bottom line is the negative balance goes away.
We have.
Pretty much everything passes.
The next topic is projected enrollment updates. As I have noted early on to the board, this is where our money comes from. So it's very, very important that we track our students. We know which students have committed. We have tried to do our best. I send a shout out to the admins, the directors, to monitor this very closely. We didn't do as good of a job of it in the past of monitoring students. So we have sent out letters, commitment letters from families trying to get a commitment. And I understand that commitment is just a check. It is, I'm coming, or I'm undecided, or I'm not returning. We followed up with the ones that were undecided. Directors have met with them individually. We didn't follow up the ones that were not coming. We have then began to accept applications for new students. So as we confirmed our returning students, we then looked at our new students that have applied and began to accept them based off of our numbers, and then even creating a waiting list for those students in the event that we have a grade level that's full. And so this document has been shared with the board a couple times, but this is the updated document showing 586. That's the document. Do you guys have that document? I do apologize that you didn't get that again. 586 is the numbers showing, and to break it down for you right now, we have in Tyler 266, in Palestine 169, in Longview 151. So those are our numbers, making a total of 586 in the district. Now, Mr. Parkerson mentioned earlier about an enrollment day. We have scheduled an enrollment date for each campus where the parents and students will come up and visit with the different departments, meet the directors, as well as complete any required paperwork. We are also going to be distributing iPads to students, so that is a big motivating factor to maybe motivate the families to come up, because that's going to even give us a better picture. Again, these numbers are only based off of checkoff system or a parent contact, but we really feel like that
More data than we had last year.
more data than we've ever had. So, but we really feel like that what our goal is that once the enrollment day is complete on the campus, the director will then sit down and look at the names of the students that did not show up, begin to make follow-up contacts with those families, and then if there is an opening, begin to offer that position to another family. We don't want to wait to the very first day of instruction to call parents and say, oh, by the way, now we have an opening for your child.
What responsibility do we have to a family if they don't show up on that day?
If they are a returning family, we have to have an opening for them. So we have to assume that they're coming back. If they're,
We have to have an opening for them on the first day of school.
yes,
On the second day of school, we don't have to,
until they withdraw.
until they withdraw.
If they are a new family and they're part of the lottery, then we can go to the next person.
Okay.
We do have some that's on our have not decided list, but we did not count in this total.
And they did not withdraw.
And they did not withdraw.
So they're currently in our system. We never got a confirmation from them. Even we followed up with them, they still are undecided. So they are not in this 586, but we're showing they're undecided. We have to have a spot for them, but on the first day of school. We have several grade levels that are full, and I will send this to the board after the meeting just so you can have a copy of this, and I do apologize. We have several grades, like for example in Tyler, right now we only have 4th and 5th grade have a few openings. In Palestine, we have 3rd and 6th and 8th grade have a few openings. In Longview, we have openings on in every grade.
And that's because it's a space issue. They now have a building that's bigger.
Oh, I apologize. No, we don't have openings in every grade. This one's not highlighted. Angela's going to really look at it. She said, we just had this.
I was sweating a little bit.
Yeah, I apologize. We have openings in 3rd, a couple openings in 4th, and that's it.
And we
Sorry.
did
Sorry,
subscribe for each grade, anticipating that not everybody would show up.
So Angela, you have how many square feet?
17,000.
Her building is huge. And we're having to bring up another a more traditional looking portable. We're going to put offices in so we can free up the classroom to add a class here. And then Palestine's got, how much extra space did you get when we included the nurses?
Well, we received the whole building,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
a lot.
3 additional rooms, one we're using as a double class room.
So basically, the only campus that really has any room is our Longview campus. So we have to be very careful when just selecting students because you got to have a teacher. And so that's one thing that we're trying to monitor that very closely. Any questions about enrollment?
Do we have any idea what our enrollment was at the end of last year?
Yeah, it was like
470, around in there.
Our goal is to add 100.
We added 100.
And if last year is an indication, we have almost 50 kids show up unannounced the first day, district-wide.
50 not show up?
No, they just showed up. They weren't.
To enroll.
We'd like to come enroll here. They hadn't filled out any paperwork. They just showed up. And some of them were told, sorry, and others, we only have space for you, so.
We're trying to be a little more organized about that. Last year, I think on Tyler campus, we were short several students. So we would love to have those 50 show up. So just trying to track this closer and make sure that we make the contact with parents so that we have a better idea. Because again, this goes back to what Mark was saying. This is where our budget comes from. we really have to monitor this so closely. We've hired teachers to serve these students based off of these numbers, trainings, facilities.
Last year, we had to
Furniture.
assign 2 teachers to other duties because in university, it worked out because we didn't have enough students for them.
Any other questions about our projected enrollment? The next item is 5th grade, 3rd administration results. We talked about this earlier when we talked about the waiver. Our 5th grade results are in, and so I provided you with those results to show you the students' scores in reading and math. Their first.
I don't think so.
You didn't get this document either.
Why don't you just tell them because there's not that many.
Did y'all get it when you in your documents that I sent you?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. So you did get it in your documents that was emailed to you.
Yes.
Did you get
We're
the
old
projected?
school, we're just gonna print it for you.
Yeah, I got the projected, the attendance we did.
Okay, so you just didn't get a copy of it. Okay.
Correct.
Alrighty, so I'll go through this just briefly, just to kind of tell you basically, our scores went up. We, first administration in reading, we were at 68%. By the 3rd administration, we were at an 87% overall.
Which is really
Math, we were at 53%. First administration with our 5th graders went up to 73% with our 3rd administration. This is the document that also shows that the students that did not meet standard in the different areas, so it has the numbers there for you as well.
The 2nd administration is what counts though.
Correct.
Just so everybody knows.
And just to update with
Counts towards
Our
your accountability. So basically, we have 12 students who need reading intervention and 24 students in the district that need math intervention. And those, again, those meetings have already been scheduled and interventions have already been set.
Has the state determined when they're going to give us the cutoff date?
The last update that I have is August the 1st. It will be given to the districts, and August the 8th it'll be given to the public.
Although we heard a rumor they actually finally decided what they were going to set the
They
score
met
at.
every day this week.
Be nice to know what score you did prior.
Any other questions about the 5th grade administration? All right, the last area is administrative updates. As noted in the board bulletin, we have created a teacher handbook that is very detailed to, basically explain our expectations. We've created a substitute handbook. We have also created a at-home learning contract that we will give our students and parents at the very beginning of the year to explain to them our expectations with the at-home learning. So 3 things that the board had mentioned prior to wanting to create, and so we created all 3 of those documents. Wanted to give just a brief update and allow Jacqueline to share. We did give accelerated instruction. Well, basically, I can give you the update. We've, as noted in the bulletin, we've provided accelerated instruction on all 3 campuses. It was very successful this year. And so we have just a brief update for the board to kind of share with you the number of students that we served.
You want to talk about just accelerated instruction or all the camps?
Both, yeah.
Okay, so just camps in general this summer, the 2-week camps that went on every campus, Mr. Weaver was telling me we had about 30 to 40 kids on each campus. Tyler continued to offer theme-based camps for the entire summer, and those numbers have varied from about 5 to 15 students each week. For accelerated instruction, and that was for children that either wanted to catch up in their grade level because they felt like they were behind, or they wanted to participate in our Algebra 1 next year, and so their teacher recommended that they go ahead and do some accelerated instruction. Over the summer, we had about 104 kids that participated in that this summer. Mainly in math, but a few of them also participated in reading.
We'll expand that over time.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all I have for the board. Does the board have any questions for me?
So we're gonna find out August 1st. You're gonna find out, is there any way you can send word to us when
Absolutely.
you find out about it?
Absolutely.
And see what it is. Before I make any comments, principals, y'all have anything you wanna add? Board members?
All the facilities can be ready for school?
Yes.
They have promised that they will be ready 7 days before school.
Not the road construction, though.
Not the road.
Not the road, so we're doing that.
Although,
Road in Carlson?
I think the road itself is a fight between the city, and we'll talk to the people in Palestine how to help us with the city. But the potholes, we plan to have fixed prior to school.
Thank you.
The Longview facility is scheduled to be ready 7 days prior to the first day of instruction.
The university authorized overtime to get it done.
Is, are the nursing students out of Palestine already? Do you have access to those rooms yet?
They've already wired the internet, in those rooms and the ceilings. I mean, we have access to the rooms, but their move is scheduled for the 29th. And so the people from the university is actually joining in on that day. And then, they'll finish up, the day after if needed, and then after that, we can move our
So,
stuff in.
well, 3 weeks before school starts, that we'll have access to those rooms, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be a problem at all.
And then the smaller temporary building we're bringing in should be here by,
As our contract's approved, it's ready, it's sitting on a lot.
and it's just, it doesn't look like the little ones, like similar to the ones you see in regular schools, but it's a temporary thing. It just helps us.
Are we buying that?
50 grand, yes. The
That's in
ingenuity,
your budget?
the ingenuity center is buying that.
Not
The
the,
engineering.
we will use half of it for office space and other classrooms. Available for school.
It's our gift.
I want to thank you for getting the teacher handbooks, and teacher policies.
Yes, they
in
did
place.
wonderful things to do all that.
Yes, no, I know. And so I really appreciate that. I think that,
I would like to
It's
commend
critical.
all the directors.
Yeah, I was about to
They
say,
have
once you
worked
finish.
Extremely hard putting together all kinds of policies and procedures, and really just going out of the way.
And those are available. I sent those to our help desk to have those placed on the website, so those will be available to you. We're creating a teacher resource section. Under that section will be the assessment calendar, the teacher handbook, technology forms. We have a substitute handbook that we've created as well. We're doing, I briefly shared with you, we're really excited about the at-home learning contract. As you recall, Mr. Lamb was one that brought that up last time about how do we hold students and parents accountable to make sure that students are meeting the requirements of the at-home learning. And so we've created a contract where the student and the parent will sign that contract. And then in the event that they do not abide by the contract, the director and teacher and family will sit down and talk about a plan to make sure the student gets on task. So that will be available the first day, that we're sending it to the design team this week to review it, which is made up of parents.
I just want to introduce everybody to Mike Donnelly, who is the new university lawyer. He acts like he has something to say to us. So.
I do not have anything to say other than to say hello, and obviously anything Dr. Bell wants me to.
Yeah, he's tired of talking. Yeah. In the past, a lot of our timeline issues were created because we had to send things legal in nature to Boston. Now we just have one intro. So that's huge. And so, but he would, if we are, as a school, we will eventually be having some sort of legal stuff we have to do. Now we have a local person to do that, so that run Boston. So,
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
But again, I just want to say too, personally to the directors, they have worked extremely hard this year to help them develop these things. These have not been developed solely by me. The handbook has been developed and revised by them, as well as I want to note Jacqueline's handbook and work through it with all the curriculum. New teachers are in training right now. It's very organized. It's very productive. We're getting a lot of positive feedback. So a shout out to every one of them, and I'm glad they're all returning.
Well, in a final comment before we adjourn, I'm going to kind of share the love as well here. For the past year and a half start of the school, that we went through a lot of growing pains. I mean, it's been at times concerning, to say the least, but I will tell you is that between what the principals have done, what the board has stepped up with, and Joanne coming in here, I tell you what, Mark stepping in, playing whatever role needs to be done, is I personally feel much more comfortable, and I appreciate you guys. I think it's you guys have done yeoman's work in the past 6 months, and we have a few more hoops obviously to jump through, but appreciate everything. So that being said, we need a motion to adjourn. So we adjourn. I'm not sure when we come to the August board meetings, if there's going to be any adjustments anywhere down the line. We have.
Just to note, we're not having the August, we combined our July and
Okay,
August.
July and August have been combined, but we may have a late August to take care of, and I guess we have to adopt the budget. We're going to have an August. So
Yeah.
we're going to have a late August when we haven't adopted the budget yet. So we're going to have a late August, and we'll try to take care of all the budget stuff from last year and to adopt the budget that's coming. So that being said, we're adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Good luck, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. Yes, any day.
Thanks, Ed.
So, yeah.